When humanity destroyed itself, the sky burned, the earth died, and only underground, in damp tunnels, those who still dared to call themselves human continued to survive. I used to think this was just fiction, just like the idea of a great war. But then I looked around and realized that step by step we are dragging ourselves toward a nuclear winter. With this in mind, I decided not just to replay Metro, but also to reread the book. I'm not really a fan of literature, but I've read a Metro 3 times already, and this time the game opened up to me in a completely different way. At first glance, this is a story about Artyom running through tunnels shooting mutants and bad people. But this is not a shooter about monsters. The year is 2013. A sudden exchange of nuclear and chemical strikes takes place. Moscow suffers the most. Those who manage to escape go underground into the metro. The stations lie about 70 meters below the surface, thick concrete walls, filtration systems, emergency supplies of air and water. Each station becomes home to people who build their own small states. One of these stations is Exhibition Station, where our main character Artyom lives. Exhibition was one of the brightest and strongest stations in the metro. Order was still kept there. People still believed in humanity. But besides humans, mutants also appeared. Dangerous creatures that ruled the surface and slowly pushed into the tunnels. Most of them were animal-like, changed by radiation and things worse than radiation. But there were others, humanoid, intelligent, the Dark Ones. They came at night and people went mad. It was impossible to understand, were they enemies or the darkness itself. A nest of the Dark Ones was very close and constantly terrorized the station. But before that, it's important to understand what Exhibition Station was like. The station specialized in growing mushrooms. Its main source of income was mushroom tea. It wasn't really tea, more like mushroom broth. But real tea was extremely expensive, so people accepted the substitute. Because of this, more and more traders and caravans came to Exhibition. People were friendly, everyone knew each other. All of this made Exhibition a truly strong station. It had experienced soldiers, clever engineers, and good leadership under Sukhoi. Sukhoi was the head of Exhibition and also Artyom's stepfather. Artyom's mother died saving her son from a swarm of mutant rats that destroyed part of the station and killed many people. But everything changes with the arrival of Hunter. Hunter was one of the strongest warriors of the Spartans, a group that protected the metro and held the line against mutants. He was the kind of man who never stepped back. You could feel strength in him, not only physical but inner, steel-like strength. Hunter came to Exhibition because he sensed a great threat to the entire metro. A conflict arose between him and Sukhoi. Sukhoi believed humanity was losing the war against the Dark Ones, that the Dark Ones was a new species, immune to bullets and capable of breaking any human mind. Hunter disagreed. Calling himself a macrophage, something that exists only to destroy threats, he went into the darkest tunnels of the metro. Before leaving, he gave Artyom his dog tag and a task. If he didn't return, Artyom had to deliver the tag to Miller, the leader of the Spartans. Hunter never returned.
If we are to survive, this threat must be eliminated, no matter the cost. Eliminated. Understand?
To fulfill Hunter's last will, Artyom signs up for a trip to Riga on a handcar that carries ammunition and supplies. It is supposed to be an easy journey, so no one expects anything bad. But there is no way to go by the direct route, so a decision is made to use a side tunnel. No one likes this idea, but there is no other choice.
I went through that last month and, well, I just don't like it, that's all.
It is in this tunnel that we first encounter an anomaly. Besides mutants, the metro is full of strange and mystical things, and Artyom is able to sense them. Because of this and because of what others believe in his immunity, they manage to get out alive. But not all of them. Here we receive an important hint. Everyone believes that Artyom is immune to anomalies, but in reality he is constantly being helped by the Dark Ones. They possess his telepathic abilities and quietly guide him, not allowing him to die in the tunnels. For the first time, Artyom arrives at another station. The game immediately shows us a bar where people celebrate their second chance at life. After some time, they could have returned to their station, but Artyom firmly decides to fulfill Hunter's request and begins thinking about what to do next. Suddenly, Bourbon appears in Artyom's life, a man with a dark past and very specific business. You can tell right away, either a smuggler or a bandit. Artyom has no real choice, so he agrees to escort him through the cursed tunnel. The dark tunnels are waiting for Artyom. They let us feel the emotions of a person who is walking an unknown path for the first time. Through dark and dangerous tunnels, the game conveys this moment very well, and I think without Bourbon, this journey would have been truly terrifying. Constant unclear sounds, piles of skeletons, voices coming from nowhere. The silence was heavier than lead. Every step echoed inside his skull. It felt as if the tunnel itself was watching them. Despite the linear structure of the game, it gives the player a choice: simply follow Bourbon through the tunnel, or look into the side rooms, where something useful can be found. Bourbon behaves like an older brother or a mentor. He has experience, and constantly warns Artyom about danger. After crossing a bridge full of mutants and passing a Hansa patrol, there is very little distance left to the largest trading station. However, one cursed place stands in their way. Bourbon and Artyom reach an old emergency airlock that connects to tunnels, but the metal grate is rusted and will not open. To get through, the valve has to be turned manually. Bourbon tells Artyom to cover him and approaches the mechanism. Artyom stands behind him, and then something begins that cannot be explained by logic. An anomaly paralyzes Bourbon and Artyom struggles against it, almost losing his life. In the book, Bourbon dies at this moment. Bourbon doesn't die by an accident, and not because of mutant. The metro itself takes him, as if summing up his entire life. At this point, Gluchovsky describes how the metro itself judged Bourbon and found him unfit. This is a moment of Artyom's glowing up, a symbolic loss of innocence. Before this, he believed that survival is simply meant moving forward. After Bourbon's death, he understands one thing: to survive doesn't mean to live. And together they stand in front of the blast doors of the station, fighting off mutants. When Bourbon is recognized, Artyom realizes that nothing good will come of this, but they are still allowed into market. Humanity is on the edge of extinction, but trade is alive as ever. Market shows us a simple truth: wherever humans end up, they will still buy, sell, and bargain. Between stalls with weapons, ammunition, carpets, mushrooms, meat, and even rat carcasses, you can feel the familiar atmosphere of a bazaar, except instead of sky above, there are concrete walls. It is here that Bourbon tells Artyom that their path will go across the surface. After the tight tunnels, the game suddenly throws us above ground, into dead Moscow. Stalkers in this world are the same heroes everyone talks about, but almost no one sees alive. They walk through a city that no longer belongs to humans and bring back what the metro would not survive without. The surface is dangerous not only because of mutants, it is dangerous because of memory. Phone calls, children's laugh, screams, echoes of the past that literally sound inside Artyom's head. All of this breaks the human mind much stronger than any creature. This is the first level where the game truly forces tension. You constantly ask yourself, should I shoot the mutant or leave it alone? Can I slip past without drawing attention? What will happen if I will turn into the dark corner? And it is exactly because of these small doubts that Metro 2033 still feels alive even in 2026. In the end, Bourbon and Artyom fight through a crowd of mutants and reach the bandit-controlled station, Dry Station. As expected, a bandit station is never a calm place. Bourbon is captured, and clearly not by people he expected to meet. Artyom receives his promised Kalashnikov and goes to help Bourbon. After breaking through all the bandit checkpoints, Artyom witnesses a Bourbon's death. At the same time, he meets a new companion, Khan. Khan sums up Bourbon's life and gives Artyom a choice: move forward or die together with his fallen companion. The choice is obvious.
A wise decision.
This chapter is one of the most interesting because it reveals the mystical side of the Metro. Khan, as he calls himself, is pretended in the book as a reincarnation of Chinggis Khan. At first, this sounds almost funny, but over time you begin to understand that he knows things no one else in the Metro knows. He walks into the most dangerous tunnels, goes where there is no clear path, does what he believes is right, and fears no one. In this chapter, he leads Artyom through a cursed place, where the souls of the dead never found peace. Among them are Han's former comrades, who even after death continue to hold the defense of the station. Under Latin words Alam Ram Om, the characters move forward and encounter something Artyom has already seen before, but never understood. Khan explains the nature of the anomaly. If you don't carry aggressive intent, it becomes no more dangerous than a campfire, and indeed, the anomaly avoids them and later even protects them from mutants. Before this, Artyom had already seen different stations. Exhibition as home, Riga as neighbors, Market as a trading hub, Dry Station as a bandit stronghold and a cult of strength. Now he reaches a station that is called Cursed for a reason. They arrive during an evacuation. The last defenders are holding the line, protecting women and children from mutants. This is the second time in the game when Artyom is forced to go alone and do what must be done. His task is to collapse the tunnels from which the mutants are coming. After this, Khan guides Artyom further and sends him to his friend, Andrew the blacksmith. Throughout the video you have already heard about Metro factions, and they play an important role in the game. Just like in real life, large groups of people cannot follow one single idea. Everyone has their own views and interests, and the more clever and ruthless use ideology and any means available to gain power. There is no single authority in the Metro. There are people who fail to agree and factions that build their own small worlds on the ruins of the old one. I will start with the independent group that has no clear core, the bandits. There are many of them. Most are people with nothing to lose, living one day at a time. For them, the most honest way to live is to take what they need by force. They still have their own culture, rules, and real territories they control. Slave trading, caravan raids, and many terrible things are everyday life for these people. Of course, bandits are often shot on sight or thrown into improvised prisons, which is why they are outcasts on many stations. The Spartans. The Spartan Order is a militarized group led by Miller. Their main task is to eliminate everything that threatens the Metro. This mostly means mutants, But bandits and other dangerous elements are also on that list. The Spartans serve not a station, not a government, and not an ideology, but humanity as a whole. They are the strongest, but also the smallest faction in the Metro. Well organized with many outposts respected by ordinary people and, most importantly, maintaining neutrality between Hansa, the Red Line, and the Force Reich. Their main base is Polis. Hansa. Hansa is a union of trading stations on the Ring Line. Their ideology is simple: money and trade above all else. They avoid open war but profit from everyone and everything. For them, people are either partners or resources.
Took forever to get here from Reich. Who'll watch this peak till then?
The Force Reich is a faction of fanatics who see themselves as heirs to Nazism. Radiation has created mutants among humans, and the Reich call them non-humans. Their reality is built on sorting people into pure and impure, concentration camps and screams behind walls. The Red Line. The Red Line is a state built on a twisted version of Marxism-Leninism, even harsher and more paranoid. One leader, one army, one idea. As the game progresses, one thing becomes clear: people kill each other far more willingly than they kill mutants. In Metro, the Red Line is shown especially clearly, and one of the key locations here is Forge. When Artyom arrives, he is told that this is a free station, but very quickly it becomes clear that it is free only in name. In reality, the station has long been taken over by the Reds. While walking through the station in search of Andrew the blacksmith, Artyom witnesses a conflict between representatives of the local secret police and a so-called spy. As often happens in the Metro, there is no investigation, only shouting and violence. After a short chase and a firefight, Artyom finally meets Andrew, who explains his plan. The plan is simple in words but terrifying in reality. Cross the entire front line between the Red Line and the Force Reich. Go straight through the hottest zones of the war. In the game, this section becomes a long combat-focused arc, very different from the book. In the novel, Gluchovsky shows war through fear, the constant danger of being captured, the madness of ideology and the pressure of the human mind. In the game, it is more action and stealth, but if you move carefully and listen, you begin to notice something important. Many communist soldiers do not really understand why they are here. Some are waiting for promised bonus ammunition, some are shot for desertion. We see ideology not as slogans but as something that destroys people from the inside. After crossing the Red Line positions, Artyom reaches the territory of the Force Reich. Here, things are no better. In fact, they are worse. Camps, torture, screams behind walls. The Reich soldiers are shown as brutal and sadistic. This would have been the end for Artyom, if not for the Spartans, who happened to be passing nearby. After Artyom shows them Hunter's dog tag, they promise to take him in Polis while continuing their own mission. On the way to Polis, problems follow one after another. During the journey, Pavel helps Artyom and the group. In the end, he sacrifices himself, blowing up several mutants along with himself. By this point, the Spartan Order is no longer just a name. We clearly see them as the true defenders of the Metro. After Pavel's death, Artyom encounters the last defenders of a station. They are holding back mutants to buy time for the evacuation. Artyom joins them and tries to help, but the situation is hopeless. All he sees are dead bodies and one barely breathing leader. The man asks Artyom to play a recording and warn Polis about what is happening.
Contact Polis and broadcast the emergency message I have prepared. Good luck, brother.
As Artyom continues through the tunnels, he meets a small boy who literally climbs onto his shoulders and leads him to his mother. By this point in the game, Artyom is no longer just a boy from exhibition. He is almost a Spartan, a symbol, a hero in the eyes of many. The people Artyom brings the boy open the blast doors, and once again, Artyom finds himself on the surface. This time, he has to pass through a large Force Reich outpost built above ground. Fighting his way through it, Artyom meets Ullman, one of the most charismatic characters in the game. After some time, Ullman takes Artyom by handcar straight to Polis.
Hey, you at the rail car! Stop the engine! Do not move! Name yourselves!
Oh, we're Nazis come here to take your station.
Ullman, is that you?
Polis is the lost stronghold of humanity, a place where books are considered sacred and power is divided between two groups, the military council and the scientific council. When Artyom meets Miller, he gives him Hunter's dog tag. Later, Artyom speaks before the council and tells them everything he has seen and experienced. Both in the book and the entire game, Artyom believes that he has completed his mission, that the hardest part is behind him, that he did what he was supposed to do. But that is not true. Miller is unhappy with the council's decision and their refusal to help Exhibition. He offers Artyom a new mission, to go to a great library. Their goal is to find the plans of D6, a secret government bunker from the Metro 2 system. According to old records, D6 contains weapons powerful enough to destroy the Dark Ones. The library is one of the scariest and most mysterious levels in the game. After walking along the avenue leading to the building, Artyom waits for Miller, with whom he is supposed to go through the entire location. However, during the operation, a Spartan soldier is wounded, and Artyom is forced to continue alone. This is where many players stop playing. The level literally forces you to look monsters in the eyes, creatures that can kill you even on lower difficulty levels. The librarians are monsters whose true nature is unknown. There are several theories about them. The main theory is that they are mutated gorillas from the Moscow Zoo. This makes sense as they strongly resemble them in appearance. What is certain is that these creatures once had intelligence. They try to avoid direct combat, but if you see you as a threat, they will tear you apart. And Artyom has to cross their territory. Reaching the archive, Artyom finds the documents he needs and escapes to the surface, where he is picked up by vehicle carrying Ullman and Miller. At a Spartan surface outpost, preparations begin for a mission that few believe in. For a long time, D6 and the entire Metro 2 system existed only as legends. Now Artyom is about to see it with his own eyes. A large Spartan squad moves toward D6. They find sealed blast doors and eventually push deeper inside, fighting through mutants and deadly obstacles. Not everyone makes it. Part of the squad dies before reaching the bunker.
Boys! My friend, why?
Arriving by train, they finally see the legendary complex. But it is not empty. Something lives inside. The creature that hypnotized stalkers through the Kremlin stars is intelligent and endlessly hungry. It has no name, but in terms of importance, it is the highest form of mutation shown in the game. During the missile strikes, Russia's enemy didn't want to destroy the Kremlin because of its historical value. Instead, they used chemical weapons. How exactly it happened is unknown, but the creature absorbed everything inside the Kremlin and then went underground into the deepest parts of Moscow. After activating the system and raising the control rods, Artyom and Miller finally gained what they were looking for: the ability to strike with missiles and destroy the nest of the Dark Ones. The final battle with the Dark Ones begins. After a long ascent of Ostankino Tower, Artyom starts receiving telepathic signals. Inside his mind, he fights the Dark Ones within endless corridors and distorted memories. Despite everything, he manages to guide the missiles and burn the Dark Ones to the ground. Almost all of them. After replaying the entire game in one breath, I can say this for sure: the developers did everything they could to preserve the atmosphere, the fear of the tunnels, the ideological themes, and the characters. The book, as expected, describes the tunnels in a much more frightening way. For example, during Artyom's journey with Khan, the cursed station is shown very differently. In the book, the station is filled not with mutants, but with groups of people waiting for a chance to cross the tunnels together. Khan senses terrible danger and suggests taking another tunnel. Despite superstitions, Khan, Artyom, and their companion Ace take one path. The rest of the group chooses another. After some time, Artyom hears horrifying screams through thick walls. Sounds that are no longer human. Everyone else dies. Even Khan, who seemed confident and powerful before, is shaking with fear when he realizes that a storm of death has passed nearby. In the game, this episode is simplified. The unknown is visualized as an electrical anomaly, and the complex ideas of crowd behavior are replaced with a cursed station that must be defended. Despite this, the danger of the tunnels through mutants and constant uncertainty is still felt, even in 2026. Personally, I consider Metro 2033 one of the strongest games in terms of atmosphere. Unlike the game series, the book has very few firefights. Because of this, Artyom's growth feels slower and more natural. His first time killing a human happens when he passes through a rake control station with two companions, an old man and his sick grandson. When Artyom sees Nazi soldiers abusing the child and the old man, he cannot stand it and pulls the trigger. This is where his real growing up begins. At the start of the story, Artyom is reasonably smart but not very brave young man who has never seen anything beyond his home station. When Hunter gives him his mission, the entire metro opens up to him, and different people guide him forward. Bourbon shows him a pragmatic view of the world, survival of the strongest. After Bourbon's death and meeting Khan, Artyom begins to see the world differently. Khan represents wisdom, mystery, and inner strength. He understands what others cannot and teaches Artyom not just about anomalies, but about feeling and understanding the metro itself. Miller, in turn, shows what honor and responsibility truly mean by keeping his word. In the book, many people help Artyom because he is young, awkward, and unprepared for this world. The game keeps this image only partially, quickly turning him into an experienced stalker and universal fighter. I also want to mention Artyom's so-called anomalous abilities. In the book, he almost doesn't have them. On the contrary, he invites people who can feel something beyond fear and death. When Artyom reaches the library in the book, he realizes that he feels nothing special at all, only fear. Besides everything mentioned above, the book also shows many other factions and belief systems, anarchists, religion cults, and strange communities. Despite all differences, Metro remains a cult classic. I once again got great pleasure from reading the book and replaying the game. Play good games. See you soon.